I've got two for us tonight. I got to make sure of which ones I was actually going to do, because I had two specifically I wanted to talk about tonight. They are okay. So yeah, we're gonna do these. We're going to do. It is one of the lore books. I want to make sure that this lore book is actually accessible, so I have to remember like what I've read and what's actually in the game right now. Hang on. I'm going to use the companion app for the first time in forever.
Ooh,
and look at what I have unlocked for
you're gonna have to log in.
I have to make sure. I want to make sure I'm not spoiling anything for anybody. There is a lore section. There's a lore section on the companion app, by the way, guys.
Yeah, all your Grimoire cards from Destiny 1 are in there.
No, they're not.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I wish they were.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, it is here. Okay. Whew.
No,
you open. Scared they weren't going to be there.
You open the lore, like you hit the lore tab, and it just takes you to Bife's YouTube channel.
Oh my god, I would love it. Don't tell me it's a good time. So this is from the new lore book. I believe it's tied to the seasonal quest line, beneath the Endless Night. And we're going to read chapters of them. They both came out last week, so but I really want to break these down and talk about them. It's called Acceptance. I'm the most qualified for this. Crow's voice reverberated off of the immense window, making the Vanguard commander's office feel even more cavernous than it was. At night, the edges of Zavala's office were usually dark, but the miasma of Vex energy that swirled in the city below made it more so. Crow sighed and paced in the gloom like a caged animal. Zavala faced the window and stood, unmoving. A statue carved of Larimar, depicting a test of infinite patience. He glanced at Ikora, her hands gently clasped as she watched Crow with disquieted contemplation. "We know," she said, for what felt like an eternity, "but your expertise and relationship with the Elixni aren't the only deciding factors here." "Exactly how long am I going to be continually tried in a court of public opinion?" Crow asked pointedly. "And when in this trial will I be given a clear of what I am on trial for?" Zavala regarded the Awoken's reflection in the window. It reminded him of the near-fatal walk through the gardens not all that long ago. His shoulders sagged. "Crow," Zavala said as he turned to face him, "this is a delicate situation. The consensus has come down hard on us for welcoming the Elixni into the city. I can't have them using you as another bludgeon." "So that's all this is, a political maneuver," Crow pushed. "To protect yourselves. No hard feelings? Nothing behind the looks you gave me when you don't think I'm watching?" Zavala stiffened, and Crow sensed the conversational temperature in the room changed. "This matter aside, if your past identity became public before we have a plan in place, it could cause considerable harm to you and to the people you care about," Ikora said evenly. "People who have come to care about you," she added. For a long time no one spoke, and when Crow did, his voice was small. "Then what? I keep hiding from the shadow of the man I was before? Forever?" "Not forever," Ikora said firmly. "But for now." Crow shifted his focus to Ikora and saw a hurt in her eyes. He'd seen it in Amanda's too when she spoke of the dead. Without another word, he nodded and left. Ikora closed her eyes, and the breath she'd been holding slowly left her. "He's going to Osiris," she warned. "And if Osiris is half the leader he's shown himself to be, he'll tell him the same thing," Zavala said, with great fatigue finally sinking into his chair. In the momentary silence that settled between them, Ikora felt an unspoken reciprocation of their generations' old friendship. "I don't know how long we can protect him," she confessed. "Neither do I." So this kind of answers the question we've had about where is Crow in all of this? What was the mission he was sent on? I mean, we kind of suspect that it was probably trying to find Mithrax at this point. We're not really sure. It may have been scouting the Elixni Quarter out, frankly.
Yeah.
I suspect we'll know more as the season goes along, but I think that this is really poignant.
Mm-hmm.
This is... I don't know. These are the kind of conversations I wish we could get in-game, because I think this is so important to understanding Crow's character.
Yeah.
He's had so much good character growth in the lore, like, I mean, we've been lucky enough to see so much of it on screen,
Right.
and those little cutscenes, and the hand drawn cutscene that we got, things like that. But I can't help but feel that conversations like this and like seeing Osiris lose his light, like these are things that need to happen in.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue thinking that because, I mean, this is a conversation like, we don't always have to be there for these conversations. We weren't there when, I don't believe we were there when Eris was summoned to Zavala's office and they found, they showed Savathun's, insignia for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't believe we were there for that, but we still saw that cutscene.
Yeah. No, we weren't in that cutscene at all. I remember it.
Yeah.
It was... Yeah, I don't know, man. I wish we could see more. I wish they had even if they, I don't know, added it later, like in a story. Like, I don't know. I feel like there should be, we talked about this 100 times on the show, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But even if you missed seasons or whatever, you took a break or whatever, and there's just a story tab or a theater mode where you could catch up on some of the story stuff,
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one because the next one really ties in with this as well. It's called Fractures. Zavala stared at the terminal window until the words blurred together. He lowered his head and rubbed his eyes, trying to collect his thoughts. There were reports from hunters in the field, increased Vex activity across the system, coordinated attacks on Vanguard operations, anomalous disturbances within the city, all on top of Elixni and human confrontations within the walls. Buzzing hum bloomed to life over Zavala's shoulder, followed by the gentle weight of a ghost that came to settle there. Is this the best use of your time? Tarj wondered aloud, which elicited a look from the corner of Zavala's eye. Tarj rarely spoke, but when he did, there was always purpose. I don't recall asking for your opinion, Zavala said as he tried to refocus. I don't recall giving one. Zavala turned this time to give Tarj another look. You two can't keep doing the work of 3 people, Tarj insisted. Talk to Anna again. Zavala leaned back in his chair. Tarj, there's no way I'm going to convince. An alert chimed in at the command console to his right. Incoming call from Empress Keitel, Tarj said wearily. Let it go to depot. Zavala stubbornly rose from his chair. No, he said, receiving the call. Keitel's Imperial Seal appeared on the screen with a notice. Audio only. Side note, I think that's hilarious.
What, they just noted that it was audio only?
Yeah, I think that's great because, I mean, that's like all of us in Discord and Skype calls these days.
Yeah.
Empress Keitel, to what do I owe the pleasure? Zavala asked, tiredly scratching a hand over his stubble. Tarj watched for a moment before he dematerialized. Commander, Keitel greeted, her voice swelling to fill the room as if she were standing there. The fleet's long-range sensors detected a growing anomaly located within the vicinity of the city. Why the sudden concern? Keitel snorted. I bear no concern, Commander, but if the Vanguard were suddenly annihilated, it would behoove me to at least be aware. Of course, Zavala said softly. Well, we're still here. For now. The leading edge in her tone hooked him. Why are you really calling? There was no response from the other side for a few moments. When Keitel next spoke, her tone was as measured as before, but lacked any performative airs. Lakshmi 2's latest broadcast to the city reached our fleet, she said. You are truly a proud hawk standing in a nest of vipers, aren't you? Lakshmi is a politician. Words are the most dangerous of weapons, Commander, Keitel reminded him. It begins as whispering convictions, then full-voiced dissent. And the next thing you know, you wake up with a knife driven in your chest. Spoken from experience, Zavala jabbed back. Spoken from experience, Keitel doubled down unashamed. Lakshmi is undermining the Vanguard's authority by diminishing your role in the eyes of the people. Spoken loudly enough and often enough, her words may begin to make sense even to those who were not of the same mind. Zavala sighed, and Keitel felt its way all across the system. I trust you to honor the terms of our armistice. I do not trust whoever your successor might be, Keitel warned. Zavala weighed anger and intrigue against one another, finding the scales a useless tool in arbitrating his response to the situation. He stepped back to the console and did as Cade might say, just wing it. This is not the first threat to my authority I've weathered, Zavala said, his voice rising. So don't delude yourself into thinking otherwise, and don't you dare come at me for whatever remorse you might be feeling about deposing your father. Zavala heard the low rumble of an appreciative vocalization over the speakers. I do not feel remorse because Callus was my father, Keitel explained, her tone softening. I feel remorse because of what Gaul did to my people. We opened the door for the hive, handed Zivu Arath a knife, and were surprised when we felt the kiss of steel in our spine. I hate to see a warrior I admire and respect do the same with a less worthy adversary, but perhaps you are not in need of such unsolicited counsel. Zavala looked up, out to the lightless city beyond, and closed his eyes. And what counsel is that? What Keitel said next was not in the voice of an empress, but of a friend. Umarth was my most trusted counselor. The darkness has many hands. Will you recognize its caress before it finds your throat?
Ooh.
This is intriguing. To me, this kind of humanizes Keitel a bit, right? I did not expect us to get anything about Keitel in the lore for a little while, probably until, next season.
Yeah,
because it really we've noted before. It really feels, and I think this lore piece kind of confirms that it feels like the Avengers are assembling.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be shocked to see Cabal in the city going forward.
Right.
I think that's going to it's a hard enough sell for Elixni to be there.
I mean, even to our Helm theory, right, where like Keitel might even be a vendor in there at some point. Or like not a vendor, but like a NPC that you can go up and talk to or get missions from or whatever. You know what I mean?
I think that'll be when the Helm finally takes off.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing's a fucking spaceship, let's be honest. It's got its own node on the director now. It's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. No, it's not.
I think that makes the most sense. But this is interesting because her and Zavala are talking very cordially here. There's no threats. There's no I'm going to fucking kill you the next time I see you attitude. I want to know if she ever found the traitor that tried to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
We talked last week, and Saladin is suspected by people in the city, and he's taken aback. He can't believe that they think that.
Yeah. That was from last week's.
It's funny because that's a fan theory that was going around for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And they took it and were like, oh, they have to have known we were going to think that.
Yeah.
And have a lore piece ready to go.
Yeah.
But I want to see how this story unfolds, because I think that very quietly some of the best storytelling they've done has been in these seasons, in the lore books that you get. Even as weak as we say Season of the Hunt was, the lore was outstanding.
Yeah.
And reading about the Siege of Torabodal by Zivu Arath and things like that, the seasons have flowed together, I think, so much better this year than they did last year. I'm already curious to see, like I said, that epilogue that's listed on there after Solstice of Heroes for the end of the season. I'm very curious to know what happens there.
Yeah.
I gotta know what happens there. We're dealing with a robotic space fascist right now, basically.
Right.
And it's funny because I think we always thought that was going to be New Monarchy and not Future War Cult.
Right.
So this is just fascinating to me. I'm very curious to see how New Monarchy and Dead Orbit, if they come into this story, and I hope they do. We keep hearing more and more talk of the consensus, but we've never seen them actually meet in person.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that going forward at some point, rather than just it's Zavala doing all the exposition. Finally, Ikora is doing stuff this season, and she's going to take on a major role in the Witch Queen they've set.
Yeah.
The other characters I really like for them to do something with, and we noted this last week, Shax is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is part of the process of they are slowly recasting all of the big name actors that just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Or who see it as just collecting a paycheck, or they're never available. Not every one of them is going to be like Lance Reddick, who's going to go record in his closet because he does so much VO work already.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess bringing it up now, one of the big news points this week was that they recast Ikora this week.
That's also a weird thing because Bungie hasn't officially confirmed it. Bungie has yet to publicly comment on it. That we saw that from Leanna Rupert over at Game Informer. And the voice actress who's doing Ikora now announced it on her Twitter page and everything, and it's led some people to kind of speculate maybe this is just a thing until they can get people back in studio.
Yeah.
Or back to Bungie, like
a substitute.
Or is this something that they're kind of like weighing right now? Because it very clearly feels like Gina Torres did some of it.
Yeah.
There are times when you can tell it is her voice, namely in the cutscene and when she's talking to you in the tower, it still sounds like Gina Torres.
Yeah.
But when it's in the override missions, when you're being talked to in the helm, that is very clearly not Gina.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem. It's just let us know if it's going to be recast. Like maybe they're in a wait and see period and they're telling Gina, like, hey, we've got big plans for your character. You have to do a lot of VO work, like more than you've done since Vanilla Destiny 2.
Right.
And you didn't have to do much in Destiny 1 at all.
Yeah.
Like you haven't had to do anything since the Red War campaign, since the original release. Like we kind of need you though.
Yeah.
There's a lot to take in here. Like this will be the most you've done, I guess, since Forsaken, technically.
Yeah.
You've almost been non-existent since. You had a couple lines in Shadowkeep, but that was like 3 hours work maybe.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot that it's not like Lance who's recording, paragraphs every season.
Yeah.
Every time we get a cutscene or we get a trailer, like he's part of it. And that's good because we've been saying for so long, use these actors that you have, like especially people who are passionate about the franchise.
Yeah.
But it's similar to the Ada one, or not Ada one, Anna Bray recasting. It's someone who actually plays the games and is interested in the franchise, and not just a bigger name actress that Bungie was probably told they had to hire.
Yeah.
Or, they hired and, didn't really have plans fleshed out, like 2-3 years in advance. And
right.
We're like, yeah, this is what you're going to be doing for all of these releases. They've changed their seasonal model on the fly a couple of times now.
Yeah.
So I would expect that they'll keep that recasting news kind of close to their chest for most of the summer.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll confirm it in a TWAB now that we've all figured it out. But I suspect that was probably meant to be made as an announcement when they talk about Witch Queen for the first time.
Yeah.
And now that's probably not happening until the end of August. That's probably happening during Gamescom week, honestly.
Yeah.
At this I can't see it happening in the normal second week of June slot that it's usually in. It's just why would they do it halfway through not even halfway through the third season?
Right.